Hey, there we go. All right. I got a little bit of a rainstorm going on, so it took me a little bit to connect here. But I guess the big deal is the playoffs. The Xfinity Clements just got thrown out on the Xfinity race, but he retains the win. A lot of hubbub about Timmy Hill should have won the race. A couple things going on here. North Wilkesboro is getting going tonight. Hopefully they're under better weather than I've got here for that race. I think that race probably should just be starting now. Mark Barnum, what's going on? So just let me know what you guys want to talk about. But I guess we will start with the playoffs. Of course, the playoffs, little bit of controversy is Austin Dillon, the last man in. Some people are upset about that. I've made my triannual video about why I think the playoffs are not good. So basically, I want season long points. I've always thought season long points is a better way to do it. It's how F1 does it. It's how every other motorsport does it. NASCAR being unique in that you race every single driver every single weekend. Most people agree that the points should be season long. Not a lot of fans of the playoffs, but there are some playoff fans. There are some playoff defenders out there. So I have heard from the playoff defenders. They are very adamant in their stance. A lot of people like them. I think if you do keep the playoffs can at least be basically tweaked or amended if you really want to keep them. I think that would probably be the best route there. Molten Rage says, what a disappointment. The 51 had to get a penalty. Yeah, disappointing on so many levels. One, they bumped him out of the playoffs. And two, you would think if they take the win or if they penalize him, you would think the win would go to the man in second place, Timmy Hill. But they said NASCAR's official reasoning for it is because they caught him in R&D. They're not going to take the win away, which is their prerogative. That to me doesn't make a lot of sense. But you would think the win would go to the guy in second place, but in this case, it didn't, and it adds fuel to that fire that NASCAR has a grudge against Carl Edwards. Whether that's true or not, we don't know, but it does add fuel to that fire because, of course, Timmy Hill drives for Carl Edwards. So you can reasonably say, if you are of that mindset, that they didn't give the win to Timmy Hill because he drives for Carl Edwards and NASCAR still harbors some type of grudge against Carl Edwards, or not Carl Edwards, Carl Long. Sorry about that. I don't know why I said Carl Edwards, but Carl Long. Obviously, Carl Long got in that controversy over the engine a few, probably over a decade ago now, a long time ago. But yeah, Mark Barnum said the playoffs suck. Yeah, I'm not a big playoffs fan. I think season long points are the way to go. And I think most people agree with that. But there are some adamant playoff defenders. Jeremy Clements' penalty is just ridiculous, to be honest. Of course, 3 days later, he comes and the penalty GD is disappointing. Yeah, it is disappointing. Like I said, on so many levels. If they're gonna take the points away, you might as well take the win away. And the win should go, in my opinion, to Timmy Hill. But they're saying because they caught him in R&D and not at the track, they're not taking the win away. Kind of weak sauce, in my opinion. But that's NASCAR's prerogative. NASCAR is going to NASCAR. There's no doubt about that. If we're going to the half playoffs, it should be win and you're in. If no ifs, ands, or buts. Oh, half the field in there. Well, yeah. People have mentioned several ways to go about the playoffs. That way, they would lock the first 10 in, your first 10 drivers in on points, and then the rest of them, I guess the 6 remaining, would be locked in on wins. And of course, there would be some overlap there, so that would be one system for doing it. There's several ways you can do it. I mentioned my system on the last video, so that's another way of doing it. And of course, doing away with the playoffs altogether and going to season-long points is probably, in my opinion, the best option. But not everybody's in love with that either. Camaro 50, what's going on, buddy? Carl Edwards, you mean Carl Long? Molten Rage said, yeah, definitely meant Carl Long. Let's see, Dylan got to win it outright instead of the rain-shortened race, said Timber Ace. Yeah, that's sort of ironic and sort of funny to me because everybody was complaining, Austin Dillon's going to get another rain win. Then everybody waited around and Austin Dillon won anyway. So that's kind of funny in one respect. Not funny if you're a Martin Truex fan. Not funny. I don't know. A lot of people didn't find it funny. A lot of people are upset, but I did find it funny that there was a rain delay and Austin Dillon. People were complaining Austin Dillon was going to win. Then Austin Dillon ended up winning anyway. Kind of funny. Kind of sucks if you're Martin Truex though. A lot of people are like, well, Martin Truex didn't win. Yeah, but he's still fifth in points, man. That's kind of rough. Like the fifth place dude in points doesn't have a chance to compete for the championship. And I don't know. And then a lot of people are saying, well, he didn't win a race. He shouldn't have a chance to win the championship. Well, last year, Daniel Hemrick didn't win a race until the very last race of the Xfinity season. So there's a counter argument to that, well, if he could get into there, he could still win the playoffs. So I don't know. It's just all kinds of ways of looking at things. I personally just think the playoff currently as we have it now is not a really good way of rewarding a champion in the classic sense of the word champion. But several people like the playoffs. I've heard from them, and they've made their case. Let's see. Douglas Serrano, what's going on, man? Gavin Legend, what's up? T-Van, what's going on? X-Dude 2, somebody could win the first 35 races and lose the championship to someone who didn't win a single race. Get rid of the ill-conceived playoffs, says X-Dude 2. And that I agree with. I don't really see anybody ever winning 35 races, but the point does remain. We've had seasons where guys like Kevin Harvick win 9 races. Kevin Harvick didn't even make the final 4. He lost. Last year, Kyle Larson won 10 races. And just by the grace of getting his fender crumpled, he was not going to win that race until his fender crumpled. By the grace of that fender crumpling, he actually won that race and got the championship. So we've also had situations where the guy that wins 10 races wins the playoffs. So I don't know. It's just such a bad system for rewarding a champion. A champion is supposed to be somebody that has defeated everybody throughout the year. If you have, let's look at it like this. This is a job for these race car drivers. If you go to your job and you are the highest producer, let's say you're picking apples. If you pick more apples than everybody every single 36 days in a row, and then the boss shows up on that 37th day, and a guy who hasn't done anything all year picks the most apples that day because the boss is there, and the boss gives that guy a promotion, is that really the best worker there, or is that the guy that took advantage of the system? And that's how I see these playoffs. Guys show up one day and have a really good day, and they've taken advantage of a system because now they're in the playoffs, and a guy who did good all year, 5th in points, did not make the playoffs. And this isn't about Martin Truex. This is about the system itself being very flawed. So that's the issue I have with it. Door Bumper Clear had some interesting comments on the race, said Mark Barnum. Excuse me. I haven't seen Door Bumper Clear yet. I know a lot of people have talked about the rain. A lot of people have talked about the car safety. Without knowing specifically what they said, I can't really comment on that because I haven't had a chance to listen to them or watch them yet. But I'm sure they had plenty to say about it. It's definitely the winning you're in at a restrictor plate track, and the restrictor plate track being the cutoff before the finale. It just racecraft is out the window, and everybody's going to do whatever they need to do. John Hale, what's going on, man? Good to see you on here, buddy. But also, like you said, left points on the board all season, though. Chris R. Yeah, I mean, you can look at it however you want to look at it. And I'm not taking anything away from anybody. Everybody had the same rules at the beginning of the season. I'm not saying Martin Truex should be in. My comment about going forward after this season, can we make the playoffs a better system? I'm focused on. I'm not going to say I could care less that Martin Truex is out, but Martin Truex being out is just the example I'm using to spark this conversation. So Martin Truex definitely should not be in the playoffs because the rules were laid out at the beginning of the year. What I'm saying is next year, can we make a system where maybe somebody who's 5th in points, or if this situation happens again, that person would be in the playoffs? Like we can smooth out the playoffs to make it less gimmicky and more rewarding of a true champion by classic definition of the word champion. NASCAR should use the chase jar to fund the playoffs. How many times do you hear media owners and such drop a chase reference when talking about the playoffs? That's a good point to embrace, because back in the day, it was the other way around. People would say playoffs, and NASCAR would be like, no, you need to say chase, because we're pushing this word chase, the chase for the cup. So actually, back in the day, they were training these guys to say it the other way. So that's why you see a lot of this carryover. Richard Petty could win 35. Chaffee City, USA said, yeah, back in the day, Richard Petty, he had a 26 win season one year. I remember that. I think it was back when they had the wings on the back. I think that was the 26 race season, or it might have been the year before in the Belvedere. But I remember he did have a 26 win season. Douglas Serrano, no 4-race suspension for Clements crew chief. I don't know how many they suspended him or not, but I know they took 75 points and they did a financial fine. I think the financial fine is probably going to be a bigger deal in that situation. It should be called the chase, not the playoffs. Dakota Henderson. Yeah, the chase makes more sense. I don't know why they decided to call it the playoffs. That's just, I guess, because what's his face came over from the NFL. He wanted to NFL it, and that's why they're calling it the playoffs now. But I know before that, it was always a big emphasis to call it the chase. Playoffs in auto racing is a poor idea. I've never liked the playoffs. I agree with you, John Hale. I don't like them either. I didn't even like the chase back in the day when they did that, but at least the chase made more sense. You set everybody to 0, and then you've got 10 races to accumulate points, and nobody got cut off. That, to me, if you're going to do something like that, makes more sense, because at least it is cumulative from that 10th race on. So I don't know. Who is your championship pick? Said Gavin the Legend. Right now, it's got to be Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott looks really good. Kyle Larson seems like he's starting to get hot. Kevin Harvick looks like he's starting to get hot. Ross Chastain's look like he's starting to cool down, but I still like Ross Chastain's chances. And you always got to throw somebody in there. So, and you can never count out Kyle Busch, but I don't see him. He's not had a great season. But you always can throw somebody in there as like a wild card, like Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, he either wins or wrecks this season, it seems like. So he would be my wild card. And it just the way this crazy season has been crazy. Normally, Denny Hamlin is super consistent. The 1 year he's not consistent, is that the year he wins the championship? I don't know. So, but right now, I would have to say Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott's had by far the best season. If this was regular season points, he'd have about a 2 or 3 race lead on everybody else. Let's see. David Reagan probably makes more money coaching Deegan than racing. I don't know. I hope he makes good money, and hopefully Haley Deegan is learning from him and gets better and better at these restrictor plate tracks. I can't wait to see Larson and Elliott start banging bumpers, said Mark Johnson. Yeah, I think so. KFB to Childress, hold my watch, said X-Dude, laughing. According to all the rumors, Kyle Busch is leaving, and the only 2 teams that seem to be left that have spots open would be Colleague and RCR, which are basically, in my opinion, the same team, because they come out of the same shop, more or less. Mark Martin fan for life. Good evening, Bologna Burger. A little late, but here. Got to give a shout out to Rick Ware Racing. Yeah, absolutely. Cody Ware with that 6th place. After all the crap we give them all the time, kept their cars clean and got 2 top 10 finishes. Yeah, that's right. I forgot the 15 was in there too. So, man, good for them. Good weekend for Rick Ware Racing. 2 top 10s. Got to be the first time ever. Epileptic Bumblebee playing NASCAR Thunder online with Michael. I don't know how to say his last name. Just stopped in to say hi. Good to see you, Bumblebee. Glad you stopped in. Fun fact, David Reagan last week completely all 40 challenge. Oh, yeah. So David Reagan has finished every single spot in NASCAR since NASCAR started. Old home guy, Double B, good evening. What's up, old home guy? Nice to see you here. Chaffee City, make NASCAR great again. Oh, man, that's going to set off some people there. But I do wish we would sort of return to a season-long point system. I definitely think that would make it a lot better than it is now. However you want to do it, I personally like my system where you just give more emphasis to wins. It seems to be working for F1. F1 has a similar system to that. Somebody pointed out to me that my system was very similar to F1, so I had to look up F1's. The difference between my system and F1's is F1 only rewards 10 spots. My system would reward points all the way down to the last car in there. So Saw a guy bet that saw a guy bet that the Ware cars and two other cars, field fillers in the top 10, made almost a mil. I said, Mark Barnum, yeah, I saw some crazy parlays as well. A lot of people made a lot of money off of this race, so good for them. Took the risk, the $10 risk, and turned it into a great big pile of money. Do you truly think Ross has a chance when half the field is looking to wreck him? Said Nathan Urich. I do think he has a chance, and here's why, Nathan. Yeah, you can wreck him in the playoffs. First off, it's a lot of talk. They're just running their mouths and trying to act hard. But secondly, yeah, you can wreck him in the playoffs. You can do that. You can wreck him in the playoffs, and you can cost him his playoff chance. But guess what's going to happen when he gets knocked out of the playoffs? He is going to make sure you don't win. So you can wreck him at your own peril. Because I promise you, if you take that man out of the playoffs, he's going to take you out of the playoffs. So all this talk about, yeah, they're going to get him in the first round of the playoffs. Okay, so you knock him out in the first round of the playoffs. What do you think he's going to do for the rest of the races in that season? He's coming for you. So I think it's just a lot of lip service, just like it's been all season. Nobody has repaid him. Denny Hamlin's done some like petty, got in front of him and slowed down, but nobody has repaid the favor, and I don't see anybody repaying the favor outside of maybe a Joey Logano or something like that. For all the grief that people give Joey Logano does have some follow through. So there are certain drivers who will pay him back. I just don't think all these drivers talking about it are going to do it. Jermaine Boyd, what's going on, man? Good to see you on here. Door Bumper Clear said that Kyle Busch wasn't at Martinsville tire test. Well, that's interesting, but he was at the first Martinsville tire test. But I think that adds fuel to the fire that he won't be back with the 18. Now, where he goes, that's a good question. I would lean toward Colleague, but he could also definitely fill in that RCR car. And like I said, they come out of the same camp. I don't think it really matters which one he goes to because it's basically going to be the same equipment. RCR needs to become a 3-car team again and bring Kyle to the 33. I don't know that they can afford it though. Well, if you bring Kyle in, I think you could get some decent sponsors there. Probably not the type of money he wants, but he said he will take a pay cut. Yes, the 9, the 5, not the 22, and the 20. Said Gavin Legend for his Final Four. Yeah, I could see Joey Logano being in the Final Four too. It's just so hard to say. You got to get through that first round because usually there's an upset in the first round somewhere, and then after that it sort of evens its way out. David Reagan is underrated driver. He doesn't get the respect. He's better than everyone says. I miss him full time. Yeah, David Reagan was a good driver. He just never was in a good situation, even when he was at Roush, it wasn't the best of Roush back then. So he never got in the best equipment during his peak years. So it's a rough situation. It kind of reminds me of Ward Burton. Ward Burton was always at Bill Davis Racing. If Ward Burton had been somewhere else like his brother, he probably would have put up the same numbers as Jeff Burton, if not better numbers, because I always thought Ward was a little bit better driver. He was way more aggressive. Jeff was more of a tactical, cerebral driver. But I don't know. I could be way off there. I was young when I was watching those guys race. Cole Custer in the 41 has been the worst driver at Stewart Haas Racing Compound. I personally would like to see Kyle Busch go to the 41. Ford could use another winner and a great truck program. Just my opinion, says John Hale. Yeah, I think that would be a good pickup for Ford, but they have announced that they re-signed Cole Custer to a contract extension. So I don't see that happening outside of something crazy happening. And they also have announced that Eric Almirola is back. So it looks like Ford has passed on Kyle Busch. At least Stewart Haas has passed on Kyle Busch. We can say that for sure. But yeah, it would be a good pickup if it did happen for sure, because they could definitely get that truck program, and everything about picking up Kyle Busch is good, except for maybe the team chemistry, because he's a little rough on the microphone, as everybody pretty much knows. Easiest point system was when I dragged race. 1 round, win 1 point. Winner got an additional 2 points, and the runner up got an additional 1. It always worked out, said John Mick. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely make a simple system like that. That's essentially what I was doing with mine. I'm just doing it with a percentage, because we have 40 points, 40 all the way down to the last place would be 1 point. and then I take a percentage of that 40 points and give them 13 additional points to the winner. But it's the same concept right there, except yours is actually you're getting half the points for the win. So if a win is 1 point, then you get an additional 2 points or whatever. So just sort of it's similar to that. It's a variation, even though it doesn't sort of make sense, probably because it's only 2 cars in that situation. NASCAR needs to scrap the playoff system and go back to the way it once was. They definitely need some type of season-long point system. And I think 100% you're seeing that in F1, people appreciate a season-long point system. I think even casual fans see NASCAR's point system and laugh at it. The guys at Donut Media, I remember they made a video about how ridiculous NASCAR's point system is. So even people who aren't diehard NASCAR fans have had criticism of this particular point structure. So as many people have said, this is not just me crying about Truex. I'm just using Truex to start this conversation about it. A lot of people inside and outside of NASCAR have questioned this particular point system. Chastain needs a pep talk to go after that championship. Don't allow any driver in his head, says John Hale. Yeah, I agree, but I don't think he needs much of a pep talk. I think he's just sort of been the team's just been a little bit off. They're probably trying some stuff right before the playoffs to see if they could come up with a combination for a setup. I think once the playoffs start, I think you'll see Trackhouse continuing to do what they did at the beginning of the season. No one's repaid him yet because Ross doesn't give a F, and they don't want no part of that again, said Dakota Henderson. I agree with that 100%. If you knock him out of the playoffs, no chance in hell that he is not coming back and taking you out of the playoffs as well. So they can talk all that hard talk they want to. I doubt anybody touches Ross Chastain unless they're knocked out of the playoffs and he's still in. Philip Canavan scraped the playoffs. I agree, said Jermaine Boyd. Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm not a big playoffs fan. I think season-long points is where it's at. You see that in F1 and every other form of motorsport. Where are you racing this weekend? Old home guy. We might be at South Boston. Not 100% sure. Although Wednesday, just tomorrow, I will go up to North Wilkesboro and try to see what's going on up there. I heard it's a ton of media up there already, so I don't know if I will get my camera out and record. I'm thinking I'm going to record a little bit, but we'll just have to see how it goes. If it's an absolute madhouse with media and stuff like that, I'm not gonna fight through all that. Of course, Dale Jr. will be there, so that'll be the big story that everybody's focusing on. Not what I'm going to focus on, but I will be up there. Not sure if I'm going to get a ton of footage, but I'll try to get something recorded. I kind of just really want to enjoy it. It's a big deal to me, and I'll get into that when I make that video. Remember when Kenseth took Logano out? That's exactly what Ross would do to someone who intentionally ruined his playoffs. That ex dude too. Yeah, 100%. That's 100% what he would do, in my opinion. Now, the only thing I'll say to that is if Denny Hamlin gets knocked out in the first round, then you might see Denny Hamlin take a swipe at Ross Chastain. That I could see happening. Something like that I could see happening. They need to advertise Chaffee City. They can't do that. That is a government thing that won't let them do that. That is a federal mandate that won't let them do that. Is there a chance? But what you can see from time to time, like you see Sheets and the big thing that people don't really know is like 7-Eleven and Sheets. They're basically owned by tobacco companies, and that's why they are on race cars. So that's sort of their loophole to get in there. Is there a chance he doesn't get picked up? Said Nathan Urich. There is a chance he doesn't get picked up, but I think he is going to be, according to the rumors. I'm not going to say I think he's going to be, but according to the rumors that everybody's heard, he's either going to Colleague or RCR. Ross lives rent-free in their heads, said Dakota Henderson. Yeah, absolutely. My new nickname for Ross Chastain is rent-free Ross because he is living rent-free in a lot of those guys' heads. You saw Martin Truex spin out basically by himself trying to avoid a wreck and then complain because Ross Chastain ran into him. I thought that was more telling that they're so concerned about Ross Chastain hitting them, even though Truex wrecked trying to avoid another wreck. They were still worried about Ross Chastain hitting them, saying he never lifts. So I'm like, well, it's Daytona. A lot of people don't lift when a caution comes out. So I don't know. I think it's just interesting that every time Ross Chastain touches somebody, whether it's his fault or not, it's just the perception is that he did it on purpose or that he can't drive or whatever. Meanwhile, Ross Chastain is third place in points, 20 points. The next man, Joey Logano, 25 points, and Chase Elliott with 40 points. So for somebody that can't drive, he's done pretty decent this season, I'd say. Let's see. And the season-long points is true. Team aspect effort, says Chris R. Yeah, like I said, if you're working your job and you're the best person at your job most of the season, or even the fifth best person at your job most of the season, and then the boss shows up and some guy that hasn't done anything all year wakes up that day and just has a great production that day, and the boss gives him a raise because of that one day, you'd be pretty cheesed off because it's not a very fair system. It's not an accurate representation of the work getting done. I feel the same way about the playoffs. That's how I feel about the playoffs. So one guy can show up and have a great day, and then he's in the playoffs, and a guy that has run good all year is knocked out of the playoffs. That's sort of my issue with it. So yeah, that's just how I view it. Not everybody views it that way, but that's definitely how I see it. What big name driver is out in the round of 16? Oh man, Alex Bowman. If you consider Alex Bowman a big name driver, he's down there at the bottom. He is only 1 point above Austin Dillon. You can see him go out. Kyle Busch is he's only got 10 points. So Austin Dillon has 5 points. So Kyle Busch is only 5 points in front of Austin Dillon. I mean, everybody is in trouble once you get past once you get past probably Kyle Larson, who is at 19 points. Because then William Byron has 14, Denny Hamlin has 13, Ryan Blaney has 13. Let's see, who could I see here that's a really big name? Kyle Busch, if he gets in, like he's had this streak of bad luck. If Kyle Busch has another streak of bad luck, or if Toyota or Joe Gibbs knows Kyle Busch is leaving, they might not give him the best equipment. So I could see Kyle Busch being knocked out in the first round if the bad luck continues, because he's only got 10 points. And like I said, he's only 5 points in front of the last place guy of Austin Dillon. Alex Bowman's down there. Cindric's down there. Suarez is down there with 7. Suarez and Briscoe would be the two I would watch. Because Suarez or Briscoe could get hot, or they could win a race, because Chase Briscoe is almost the exact same type of driver as Ross Chastain. He's a kamikaze driver. If he gets hot and wins a race, he could bump one of those guys. Or, like I said, if you have an attrition or something like that, you could see Kyle Busch. Let's just read the names here: Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, and Denny Hamlin. That if any of those guys, and William Byron, if any of those guys have trouble, there's a good chance that they will be the upset. But if I just based off of performance recently, I would say Kyle Busch is the best candidate to get upset right now. Second best candidate on that list to get upset probably would be Denny Hamlin, because he's had a streaky season where he either wrecks or wins. So it's just really hard to tell. But those off the top of my head, those are two guys that could possibly get knocked out. Denny's got to catch Ross first before he can wreck him, says Dakota Henderson. So yeah, that's part of it too. David Reagan or Ryan Preece for the Rick Ware Racing 51 full time to replace Cody Ware. One of those two. Not the 51 that might be able to do something. Cody is just not that good of a driver. Well, that's a take, Moulton, but it's also his dad also owns the team, and he just got a 6th place finish. So I don't know. If Harvick had made it, let's see here. If Harvick had made it through that wreck, he would have won, and Blaney and Truex would have both made it in. Yeah, for sure, probably, but that's hypothetical. I think if any of those guys caught up in that big wreck had gotten through that wreck, they probably would have won, because I think they had more speed than Austin Dillon. Because I don't know if you saw Austin Dillon's car at the end of it. His car was not in perfect shape either. He had duct tape on the nose too, and the hood. So his car was roughed up somewhere earlier in the race as well. Let's see. Rick Ware Racing needs to add something. A lot of Rick Ware Racing talk here today. Rick Ware Racing needs someone in their cars to tell them what's wrong. They're not spending a ton of money. Is part of what's wrong. You see that 15 car produced, because that's really a Stewart Haas car. So I don't know. The best I've ever seen somebody run in straight up Rick Ware equipment was John Hunter Nemechek. He brought it home like 20th something one day. So that's the best I've seen somebody run straight up. And I think that was at Martinsville. Well, if we were throwing KB theories out there, KB to Rick Ware Racing 15 with a share of ownership, said Mark Martin fan for life. That's what I was saying. If Ford is going to get him, it would have to be some insane deal like that. For people holding out hope that he goes to Ford, it would have to be some insane deal where he becomes a team owner of some team, be it Rick Ware Racing or whoever. I agree with the season-long points. A win goes back to guarantee a shot at next year's All-Star race, and that could even be last year's top 20 in points, said William Tyre. Just as long as consistency is rewarded, you can do whatever you want to. But we shouldn't have a situation where somebody who's had a top 5 season doesn't even get a chance to fight for the championship. And I know it's Martin Truex this time, but it's been other guys in the past. Kevin Harvick had a 9-win season. He didn't even make it to the Final Four. So there are tweaks they can make. Whether they make them or not is up to them. Listening to Jeff Burton is like fingernails scraping a chalkboard. Oh my God, says John Hale. Yeah, he's got a high pitched voice and he gets to yelling and hollering. Everybody on NBC likes to scream. Like that's instead of increasing their amplitude, they just increase their volume. Different ways of going about it. That's how they show their excitement. And some people like it. I don't know. Not for me. Dakota Henderson said Ryan Blaney is going to be one of the first guys out. So that might be true. Could be. Paul says, smash that like button. BB gives us great content. Appreciate it, Paul. Thank you very much for that. Feel free to hit that like button if you want to. Douglas Serrano, or lick that like button, as the iceberg says. Douglas Serrano, I missed what Douglas said. Mark Barnum, yes, I agree with you on that. Let's see. Did you hear the audio from Denny's crash? He sounded really hurt. Yeah, that was rough audio. That's rough audio. That's a good point, Angus. I'm glad we got to that because there's been several other clips and stuff like that of other drivers that are really hurt. I think Daniel Suarez was one I saw. The violence of Daniel Suarez's crash. They have got to do something about the impact that this car sends up through the driver. It is not cool. There's nothing good about the impacts that these drivers are taking in this new car. I know it's a new car. I know they don't want to go crazy and totally reconfigure it, but they need to add some type of crumple zones or something for the safety of the driver. And that's just the way it's got to be going forward. They have got to fix the impacts in these cars. Michael Honeychuck said, what's up? What's up, Michael? The format is bad, but it's also is the 19's fault as well. They had plenty of races where they could have got points, but they got plenty of points. That's my issue with this. Everybody's like, they had plenty of races where they could have got plenty of points. They did get plenty of points. They're 5th in points. You can't do much better. There's only 4 guys who scored more points than them. It's not a points issue. So he just didn't win a race. Let's just say it like it is. He just didn't win a race. He had a really good season and just didn't win a race. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with him not making the playoffs this time. Everybody had the same rules at the beginning of the season. My point is, going forward, next year, what can we do for next year so that a situation like this doesn't happen or is less likely to happen? The top 5, and a lot of people feel like the top 10 in points should be locked in regardless. And then some people have said, if you're going to do 16, give the next 6 to whoever wins. So like there would only be 6 spots open for winners. So even if you win one race, you would still have to be the best of the 6 that won that race. That makes a lot more sense than the current system. So if you want to keep the playoffs, that is a way to do it that makes a lot more sense. For instance, in this situation, the top 10 would be locked in. So Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex would have been bumping out the 2 lower guys in points who had wins, which would have been, in this situation, Austin Dillon and either Austin Cindric or Alex Bowman. Whoever had the tiebreaker there between Cindric and Bowman would have been knocked out. So in that situation, Austin Dillon and Alex Bowman would have been knocked out. Similar concept, just a different way of going about getting your top 16. Old home guy said, imagine if Moroso, Irwin, Petty, Allison, and Earnhardt didn't pass too early. We might be saying Jimmy Johnson who. Yeah, and with Allison and some of those guys, you might say, would Earnhardt have won 7 championships? There's all kinds of, when you get into those scenarios, there's all kinds of stuff you can play with there. Paul says Austin Dillon is lucky that Austin Cindric didn't knock his block off with that cheap move at the end. So yeah, that's pretty funny. But also you got to remember when Austin Cindric won the Daytona 500, he threw some type of, I can't remember the situation, but I remember Ryan Blaney was upset. So he did something to Ryan Blaney, And what's funny about that is somebody said to me something on one of the social media platforms. We just got a preview of the fight for 16th place because both of those guys are going to be knocked out of the playoffs. So I thought that was pretty funny, pretty funny statement there. And I've got nothing against Austin Cindric or Austin Dillon, but I don't see either one of them making it to the round of 12. I hope they prove me wrong. So like I said, nothing against either one of them. I'm an RCR guy, so I really have nothing against Austin Dillon. I hope he does well. He last time he made it to the playoffs, he proved everybody wrong. He got to the round of 12. Michael Honeychuck says, "Yep, too rigid." Talking about the new car. Yeah, I agree. A lot of people agreeing with Angus 420 about the car being too rigid. Just came in on this. It's just a question somebody may have already asked or something similar. But are the Penske cars off that much? I don't think the Penske cars are off at all. I mean, I think you see a guy like Ryan Blaney, who is he was what, third or fourth in points before the reset or whatever, or second in points at one point. And if you look at the current chase points, you got Joey Logano. He's second to Chase Elliott. He's got 25 points. He's the next closest guy to Chase Elliott, who's got 40. I don't see where they're off necessarily. I think maybe at the beginning of the season it threw them for a loop getting the new nose, but I think right now they're right on par with anybody. Winston Cup points, except a lot of people want to go back. I missed who said that. Sorry about that. A lot of people want to go back to the Winston Cup points for sure. Dakota Henderson, new KB theory, KB to Roush. Ford and Roush have a great connection. Well, yeah, there you go. That could happen. Roush could expand to a third car. I could see that happening. They've done it before. Why would you think Joe Gibbs would give Kyle lesser equipment? Says Nathan Urich. I'm not saying they would. I'm just saying if he's already left Toyota, it would be a situation where he would get – Kyle Busch is the top guy there. He's always been the top guy there. But we have seen that Toyota has a very tiered system, especially when they took the pit crew from the 20 car and gave it to the 23 car. And it appears that system is based on who brings the most money in. Now that Kyle Busch is not bringing the most money in, is he getting the fourth best equipment like the 20 car has always basically gotten the fourth best equipment at Joe Gibbs Racing in recent history? So instead of the 18 car getting the absolute best equipment, is it now getting the fourth best equipment? That's what I'm getting at that. I'm not saying they're sabotaging him or giving him bad equipment. I'm saying instead of giving him number one equipment, there is a chance that on the totem pole, he is now getting the fourth best engine. Because look, here's what they don't necessarily tell you. You build 5 engines side by side, 6 engines side by side. One of them is going to be better. One of them is going to be the best engine. And that engine goes to your driver who you think is the best driver. Some teams have it set up where there's a pick a number out of a hat type of deal. It just depends on where you're at. But I think Toyota has always had a very clear hierarchy. And I think it was nowhere was it more evident when they switched pit crews. Because at that time, the 20 car wasn't in the playoffs. He was still competing to get into the playoffs. And they took some of his crew members and moved them over to the 23 because obviously the 23 brings in more money. They wanted to keep the 23 and its sponsors happy. So they took and put crew members over there to improve their performance because they wanted all those relationships to continue. That's all I was getting at with the I was definitely loose in how I said it. But that's all I was getting at with the Kyle Busch thing. I don't think they're trying to sabotage him. I didn't mean it to come off like that. I'm just saying he might not be getting the A-tier equipment that he once was. And to be fair, a lot of the poor performance this season has been because of stuff out of his control, either wrecks or mechanical failures, or getting disqualified because of the weird little tape gate situation where he had a second place there, and then they took all his points away. Ty Dillon, the colleague, said Douglas Serrano. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know if Ty Dillon's going to get a ride or not. Hard to say. Who you got for Darlington? Brett Page. That's a good question. Darlington's a tricky track. Like, you could see somebody like Eric Jones go up there and get that win. Austin Dillon almost stole one a couple years ago. Kevin Harvick's usually pretty good there. Chase Elliott's really good there. Kyle Larson's won there. Kyle Larson had a good finish there 1 year where he smoked the wall. I forgot who won that race. But it might have been Kevin Harvick that won that race or something. I can't exactly remember. But when Kyle Larson did the video game move and just rode the wall all the way in, So I probably, if I'm just off the top of my head, I'm going to look at the numbers and do a full preview uh, on Saturday. So or Sunday, sorry, on Sunday morning. I got caught up because the last race was Saturday. Sunday morning, I'll do a full preview, but off the top of my head, probably Harvick, Chase Elliott, or Kyle Larson. Off chance that Eric Jones gets it done again. Kyle Busch is good there. I could see him winning. Denny Hamlin's really good there. I could see him winning. I can't remember from who from the Ford camp is there. I never count out Joey Logano though. I can't. I'm trying to think of who's good in a Ford there. Probably Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney. He's a historian. He likes older tracks, so I wouldn't count Ryan Blaney out either. Let's see. William Tyre says, "Hey Angus, Childress gave him a ride, and he made good money. I don't claim to know a lot about their relationship or business dealings. You may know more than I do. I don't know what we're talking about there. Penske has a fourth car option as well, and Penske has deep pockets. Yeah, Dakota Henderson, that's true. They could put him in the 21, or they could just pull out a fourth car altogether. I don't think they would move Harrison Burton out of the 21 because he brings sponsor money. But you could see a situation where Penske buys out a charter or rents a charter. That's another thing. They could rent a charter. Sometimes you rent a charter. So they could rent a charter from like Rick Ware or something like that. A situation like that. I like how tough this new car is. They can wreck it and still fix it and still have a chance to win. Says next gen crash dummy. Yeah, that is a good thing. The only bad thing about that is they just got to figure out a way when they wreck to take some of that impact and some of that shock from going directly into the driver. They've got to figure out a way to do that. Mark Barnum says Harvick for Darlington. Harvick's a good pick for Darlington. He's pretty good there. Nathan Urich said, thanks for clearing that up. I just didn't understand. Yeah. I said it kind of loose. But yeah, I don't think they're going to sabotage Kyle Busch or anything like that. I think they'll just start giving him the fourth best equipment because he no longer has a sponsor bringing money in. They don't have to worry about that sponsor with M&Ms. So you could see a situation where he gets the fourth best stuff because they want to keep those sponsorship relationships with other sponsors they have happy. But who knows? It's Joe Gibbs. They like to win. They'll even the fourth best Joe Gibbs stuff is still good stuff. So yeah, I think he'll be okay. I still think he's the best driver there. So even in the fourth best stuff, he can sort of prove his point. I like all the Gibbs drivers, but Denny. But I am not a fan of Mr. Gibbs. I think he screws over his drivers too much, says Cassandra Keller. So I think this goes back to the NFL. He knows how to deal with personalities. Even in the NFL, I remember he would have people that would cause a lot of controversy. And as long as they were good, he had their back. But as soon as they got older or weren't as good as they were, or he could replace them with somebody who had less controversy around them, he would get off of them really quick. So that could, I'm not saying this is how it is. This is just a theory that you could look at based on how he handled things in the NFL. Once M&M's left Kyle Busch, did he look at that as a situation where he was like, this guy brings a lot of controversy. If we can get somebody else in here, maybe we get somebody else in here. I don't think he necessarily might have thought that at first, but there is a possible situation that once he saw his grandson not necessarily was doing the best in the world in that 45, but once he saw his grandson was competitive in that 45 and he could get his grandson cheaper than Kyle Busch, he might have said, is the headache that Kyle Busch brings worth it, or should I just go ahead and move on and go young here in this situation? There might have been a situation where that happened. Who knows? Who knows if any of that will ever come out? We might not never know the situation with Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch still might sign with the 18. We don't know for sure that he's out of the 18, but if what Door Bumper Clear says he wasn't at the tire test at Martinsville, I think that's a good sign that he's possibly out of the 18 and he will be racing somewhere else next season. But like I said, what I just said there was speculation. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on because in my mind, at the beginning of the season, I was like, they're just going to re-sign Kyle Busch. It's not going to be a big deal because Kyle Busch is so synonymous with Toyota. You can't even imagine a race where Kyle Busch is not in that 18 in recent memory. I know some people remember the 5 car, but Kyle Busch, the 18 Toyota, is just sort of just one of those things. So I never saw him leaving the 18, but it now looks for sure like that might happen. If you bet me at the beginning of the season, I would have lost a lot of money on that because I thought it was just about as guaranteed a thing as you could guarantee. I thought about Eric being a factor. Byron did good. Larson is my driver. Chase as an alternative by the Georgia blood for sure. Those are definitely good picks. When and where can we get some BB merch? I put it at the end of my video, or just look at some of my videos in the caption. There's a link in the description. That's where you can get the merchandise. I need to update. I need to make some more T-shirts anyway. So next video I release, I will put it in the description. I don't quite have enough followers yet to put it across the bottom of the screen like some guys do. I think you got to hit 10,000 for that. So when I hit 10,000, it'll be at the bottom of the screen. But until then, it will be in the description, and I'll try to do better about putting it in the description every time. Just sometimes I forget. I like Happy for Darlington too. He's been good there. Dwayne Mueller, yeah. Kevin Harvick's pretty good at Darlington. So is Chase Elliott. So those would probably, just off the top of my head, would be my top 2 picks there. William Tyer, Reddick stuck with Dillon. If he had tried to pass, they both may have ended up out of the top 10. Said William Tyer. Yeah, he was a good teammate in that situation. So shout out to Tyler Reddick, no doubt about it. He got a lot of flack for the way he left, and me personally, I didn't necessarily love the way he left, but I didn't have a problem with him leaving. He took a better opportunity in his mind. I didn't have a problem with him leaving, but I wasn't real impressed with the way he left. But ever since then, he has been a consummate professional, sticking with the team and being as good a teammate as you can be, and he proved it that weekend. So, like I said, it was a small criticism I had of Tyler Reddick. I still don't think Richard Childress is super happy with him, but he definitely did the right thing there as far as being a teammate and helping his teammate get into the playoffs. So that was really cool to see. So hopefully they can squash all the ill feelings toward each other and animosity and move forward for their last year together, or last year and a half together, however you want to look at it. Is Kyle staying with Gibbs? Said Cassandra Keller. I have no idea. If I knew what Kyle Busch was going to do, I could make a lot of money right now, I'm sure. I have no idea what Kyle Busch is going to do. No clue at all. But I would say it does not look good if he was not at the Martinsville tire test. So it doesn't look good for him returning if that is the case, according to Door Bumper Clear. Truex wins at Darlington 1 week too late. That would be very ironic. I'm kind of pulling for that now that you said it. I'm with you, Cassandra Keller. I don't like Denny either. I don't like Toyota, says John Hale. There are definitely a lot of people that don't like Toyota. Everybody has their manufacturer for sure. Jones and Suarez, says Cassandra Keller. That's a good combination. I need to look at Daniel Suarez's stats here. I hadn't looked at them recently. I think the change of scenery will make Busch thrive. I think it's going to be good for everybody to get a change of scenery. I think it'll probably help the people over there because Kyle Busch can be an abrasive personality. Cassandra Keller says Ty doesn't bring crap. Well, he's young. I think they're gambling on the future there with him. If we're going to do season-wide points, why not do double and triple points as when it comes down to the end? NHRA does that without going to triples. Said Speedway Anywhere. I mean, you could, but I'd rather just I don't know. I'd rather it just be season-long points all the way, all the same, the entire year. That way, it just rewards the best person. I don't like systems like that where it awards more points for winning this race or that race. Because, like I said, if you just apply it to a job like one of us would work, we don't get more points for the work we do in December as opposed to the work we do in January, February, March, or April. So that's just the way I look at it. That's just my thoughts on it. I'm not saying I'm right. That's just the way I look at it. Everybody's opinion is welcome, but any season long system would be much better, in my opinion, than the playoffs. Imagine Monster sponsoring Kyle. I don't think that'll happen because he's got his own energy drink. What about Colleague switching to Toyota? Colleague is not Rich Allen. Alan Rich, I'm sorry. Said here's the deal with Colleague switching to Toyota. I see this comment a lot. Colleague is, in my opinion, not going to switch manufacturers because they are on the RCR campus. Their cars are literally built right beside RCR cars. For them to switch over to a different manufacturer, they would have to buy a whole new building. They would have to hire a ton of new people, and I'm talking about R&D people, fabricators, everything, just everything. They would almost have to hire an entire new staff. So I don't see them switching manufacturers just because they signed Kyle Busch. If they sign Kyle Busch, like the rumors are saying, I just don't see that happening. But I could be wrong. But it would be a massive overhaul. They would have to move off campus and everything. Your thoughts on the whole Jeremy Clements deal? I think it's crazy. I mean, they slap the big teams on the wrist, but go so hard on the small teams. Yeah, the financial hit was massive, and that's what I was saying. The financial hit is going to be so big to them that it's ridiculous. I wish they had just taken the win away and given it to the 13 of Timmy Hill, and then just slap them on the wrist like they do everybody else. To me, if I was them, I would have peeled the crap out of it because there is so much precedent of them giving bigger teams a slap on the wrist. Then that's exactly how I would play it. And I think they can get that drop down quite a bit. I know Mike Harmon got his drop down significantly over the alleged testing incident back in the day. Well, Kyle acts like a child at times and isn't a poster child for many sponsors. Yeah, that's for sure, Michael Honeychuck. No doubt about that. He definitely wears people out. That's what I'm saying. A change of scenery will probably be good for everybody. We'll see. I think the Kyle Busch scenario, I think you hit it spot on with the grandson versus chaos. That's money to go with the grandson. Is that wrong? No, but I think that Kyle also has really served Joe Gibbs. Thanks. Yeah, for sure. I see exactly the same way you see it, Robert Slaughter. Kyle Busch has done everything you can possibly do in that 18. But he has an abrasive personality. So I think when Joe Gibbs, when he didn't initially get that sponsor that they had lined up, when that fell through, I think he started looking at other options because he might not have necessarily, once he saw his grandson was capable of at least getting top 15s. I think he was like, well, is it time to go young now? Because maybe it's time to get away from this personality. That's just speculation. It's just a guess, but that is something that sometimes does happen in all sports. So there's no doubt that could be what happened. Hard to say though. Like I said, just speculation, just a guess. Chase is underrated. He's got the most wins and the most points this season. I don't know if he's underrated, but he's soft spoken. He doesn't talk a whole lot. He's a real quiet guy. But he's definitely had a monster year. And like I said, if this was traditional season long points, he would have a 2 or 3 race lead, no doubt about it. I really think it's Chase's year, says Angus 420. Here's my thing with this. It should be Chase's year. Chase has had by far the best season. It would take an absolute miracle for somebody to catch him in regular season points at this point. If Chase Elliott doesn't make the round of 4, or if Chase Elliott doesn't win the championship, I think that would be enough backlash from Chase Elliott fans and regular NASCAR fans that could get some type of change to this point system. I don't think they would scrap the playoffs, but I think that is something you could see where you would have Joe Gibbs Racing fans and Martin Truex fans upset. Then you would have Chase Elliott fans and Hendricks fans upset. That could be a catalyst where you see something actually get changed in the playoffs, especially if Chase Elliott has a 9 or 10 win season and doesn't, like Kevin Harvick did, if doesn't even make the Final 4. That's when you could see a change to this system, because this system is very controversial. It doesn't reward a traditional champion. And like I said, a lot of people outside and inside of the sport have questioned it. I just wouldn't want to see Cup locked up at the beginning of October under the season-wide system. Speedway Anywhere says, I mean, that's a risk you got to take. And everybody always points to the ratings were bad under those situations. Yeah, but the ratings are always going to be bad because that's when football season starts. And a lot of people are splitting their time between racing and football, and they're going to give precedence to football because a lot more people like football than they like racing. So I don't think you can necessarily go by the ratings. But here's the deal: it shouldn't matter if you want to name a champion and somebody has a season that is that good. And first off, it's going to be very rare that somebody locks it up in October. Usually, it's going to be at least close enough that there is a chance that somebody else can still get it. I remember most of the last races, it was still at least mathematically possible for the guys in second place to win the race. There were a few exceptions, notably the Matt Kenseth season, where he was just super consistent that year. But that being said, it really shouldn't matter. And I understand where you're coming from. You want it to be exciting all year. But here's the deal. If you do it like the playoff system like they got now, as soon as your guy wins, the regular season is no longer of any importance because you know your guy's in the playoffs. If you do it the other way, where it's season long points, every race counts unless somebody has a really good season like Chase Elliott's having this year. And then the last races might not matter, but that's only going to be occasionally. So it's just all in how you want to play it. It's all in how you want to do it. But I do understand what you're saying. You want every single race to have some consequences. And the only way for every single race to have consequences is for season long points to happen. And yes, there will be occasions where somebody has it locked up in October, but those are going to be an exception to the rule as opposed to the actual rule, in my opinion. One of the funny things to happen was Tyler Reddick trying to work the draft with all the Toyotas. Then a few laps later, they bailed on him. Yeah, Corey LaJoe said that. Yeah, that was kind of, I don't know. I guess he thought he was a Toyota driver at that moment, and they showed him as long as he's driving a Chevrolet, he's not a Toyota driver yet. Cassandra Keller said he did prove to be a good teammate. Yeah, absolutely. He did a great job there for his RCR teammates. James Hankins says, I don't see the merch link. Hold on, James. Let's see here. Let me grab that for you real quick. I will drop it down in the comments if they let me. Sometimes they let me, sometimes they don't. So let's see here. There you go. It is down. I just commented. It is down in the comments. So if you want merch, there is the merch link. Appreciate it. One of the funny things to happen was Tyler. Oh, yeah. I just did that one. Let's see. Great for next year. Pay Reddick to sit on the bench. Now, that would be funny, said Don McLeese. A lot of people have hinted at that. A lot of people think that that's going to happen. James Hankins said at the end of other videos, if anyone is interested, I have 2 free tickets to the Saturday Xfinity race in Darlington. I won them off a local radio station and can't go. First to respond gets them. So hit up Mike Haywood, those Xfinity tickets to Darlington. NASCAR guy, what's up, buddy? NASCAR guy, do you want them? Said Haywood. I want Kyle to go to RCR, said Cassandra Keller. I want Kyle to go to RCR and race the 3 because that would be maximum chaos. I think it would be funny. People's heads would explode. It would be hilarious. But if he drove the 8, either way, him going to RCR would just be funny because of the taking off my watch incident where Richard Childress got him in the headlock and threw some knuckles on top of his head. Chase is underrated. You're funny. The next gen crash dummy. Dwayne Will. Yeah, I don't think Chase is underrated. I don't think you can be a champion and be underrated. But I do think he's quiet. I don't think he seeks out press like a lot of guys seek out press. Like you see Denny Hamlin, he'll seek out. He likes to stay active on Twitter. Some guys like media and social. Chase Elliott is not one of those guys. Chase Elliott's just really private. He likes his privacy. I hated to see Clements get that penalty, said Cassandra Keller. Me too. I hated it. It kind of ruins that weekend a little bit. But at least I'll still always have that memory of him pulling into victory lane and them talking to his dad. I hate it, but it is what it is. And I hate that they got to take that financial hit. Hopefully they can lower that financial hit by appealing. Any idea why Oracle decided to back out of the 18? No, I said Sonny V. No clue on why they backed out. I just don't know. I don't know if they weren't happy with the driver or if they weren't happy with NASCAR's exposure. It could be anything. It could be anything. So just hard to tell. I think the regular season champion should be locked into the round of 4. Yeah, that is a fair point, Houston Hokut. That's definitely another way to do it. Like I said, it's hard for me to wrap my head around a playoff system because I'm so dedicated to season long points. But I do try to think about how to improve the playoffs because I know a lot of people do like a playoff system. So yeah, that would be one way to do it. Let's see. Mark Barnum says, actually, I could care less where KFB goes. Mark, I was interested at first, but it has been overkill here recently. Uh, they really take the tiniest sliver of information or non-information in some cases and just run with it and try to squeeze stories out of it because it's getting mainstream media a bunch of traffic, and that is how they make money. So they are really milking it, but it's sort of turning into a Tim Tebow, Jeremy Lin situation, like when ESPN wore those stories out. It is getting to that point where and I think Kyle Busch is tired of it too. I'm really just getting tired of it, and hopefully he signs soon because I'm really contemplating not making another story about it until he signs with somebody. Imagine if Cole Custer wins Darlington. JK, I effing wish. Well, he could. I mean, he showed up and won Texas that one year, just out of nowhere, or Kentucky or Kansas or wherever he won. Dwayne Mueller says, go 49ers. I'm a 49ers fan too, Dwayne. So go Niners. Where does the name Bologna Burger come from? Asking for a friend, says James Hankin. So it is a local sandwich that is served at the local short tracks, and I am making a video. I lost the memory card on it. So that's where it comes from. Orange County, Ace Speedway, South Boston. They make a sandwich called the Bologna Burger. It is a fried bologna sandwich with, depending on the track you go to, dressed a certain way. I do have a video coming on that. I lost the memory card and I just found it today. So that is the delay on that. I lost the memory card and I was actually freaking out because I was like, man, I lost it for like 3 days. I might have to totally reshoot everything. But I did find it today. So hopefully that'll be out soon. Let's see. Cup racing on Friday nights during the football season might be cool and help in TV ratings. It could for sure. That's definitely why they went to a playoff system so that it would create more buzz during football season, so more people would watch racing. During the shutdown, it was cool how the schedule was jumbled. Says old home guy. Yeah, those Wednesday races were pretty cool to watch on TV. I don't know about attending them, but nobody could attend back then anyway, so I guess it didn't matter. Denny Hamlin was the guy in front of Larson on the video game move. Okay, that's right. It was Denny. So have you seen Elite Precision 29's video of the playoffs messing over Truex, Douglas Serrano? I have not seen it yet, but it's a really good channel. So definitely, if you've not seen Elite Precision, check him out. Elite Precision 29. Check out his video. I'm actually going to watch that right after this because I forgot to watch it today. But I remember he said on Twitter he's just going to put a microphone in front of his face and just vent about this season and how he doesn't like the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to it. I like season-long points with stage racing. I'm not. Here's the deal with stage racing. I'll be okay with stage racing as long as they don't throw a caution. Like, just let them keep running. So if you want to stay out there for stage points, stay out there for stage points. But then you're going to be on a different strategy than guys who aren't worried about stage points that are just going for the win. So in that situation, I don't mind stage points. But when you stop the race to award stage points, that's my holdup on stage points. Cassandra Keller said, hey, cool merch for sure. I appreciate it, Cassandra. Just in case you're wondering, scroll up through the comments if you want merch. Somebody was asking if I had it. I did put a link in the comments. So scroll up and you will find those. Retire the Skull Bandit, said William Tire. I think they've already retired him. The 4-race suspension for Clements crew chief, says Douglas Serrano. Yeah, don't know. NASCAR is going to do what they want to do. That's all I can say about that. There's no consistency in any of their punishments, in my opinion. KBM, Colleague, Busch, Motorsports. A lot of people have been saying that. That's a good one. Camaro 50. Yeah, a lot of people are going with that. Austin is not going to give up that 3. Say Cassandra Keller. Oh, no, for sure. But it would be funny to see Kyle Busch drive the 3. Like, how many people's heads would literally explode? Chase Elliott is underrated. If he's the best current Cup driver, and this year proves it. If Larson didn't wreck him, Chase would have 6 or 7 wins. Yeah, but I still don't see where he's underrated. Nobody's doubting he's had the best season. We just don't think he's underrated. I used to be a playoff person. Now I want season long points. Yeah, they just tend to make more sense. For sure, Crash Test Dummy. Great show, William Tyre. I appreciate it, buddy. The reason the points format is the way it is because the old format, you would know who's going to win the championship a month before the season was over. That was true sometimes, but I think that's played out. That's overplayed. It wasn't like that every season. Let's see. Maybe go back to ESPN, so the USA and Fox, JD Mayo. They could, as long as I don't know if ESPN would stick to sports though, and that would drive a lot of people insane. LGB says Supreme Baller. Hey BB, Daytona is getting more crazy than ever. Blaney's in. Thanks, dude. What's up, Cal Tiki? Yeah, Daytona. That's just. I understand why they put it as the last race, but it's never going to be anything more than a wreck fest as long as it is the cutoff race. So it is what it is. What are your views on the truck sponsorship, BB? I like Craftsman coming back to the truck series. Mark Barnum asking that question. I like Craftsman coming back to the truck series. For most of the time I've been watching the truck series, I've called it the Craftsman Truck Series. So I think it's really cool. Now, I know a lot of people aren't in love with Craftsman anymore because the hand tools are no longer made in America. They claimed before the shutdowns hit that they were going to start making them in America again. But because of that, they haven't finished the factory. So maybe when they finish that factory, they will be made in America again. But as of yet, the hand tools are still made overseas. So we will see if they follow through. Chase's Champ says Timmy Hill wins at Daytona. Unfortunately, they did not give Timmy Hill the win. Old home guy stage points is like halfway points back in the day. Yeah, for sure. And leading the most laps as well. Sky Talent, how many Winston Cup points format, but wins matter more? Yes, Sky Talent. That's kind of what I proposed. I did a 40 points. Like if there's 40 cars in the field, 40 points for first, 1 point for last, and the winner gets an additional 13 points because that's about a third of 40 points. So you would get a third points bonus for the win, and then you just move on to the next race. So I think that would differentiate the first place from last place, because in that situation you would have 53 to 39, and I think that would be significant enough for people to still go for wins. But the people in sixth place wouldn't act completely crazy, so there would still be racecraft, and people wouldn't just be racing and stuff like that. Got a super chat here. The way Suarez hit was crazy in front of the field, and yeah, that's the video. Appreciate the hit there, Corey. That's the issue I was talking about earlier with it's on Twitter. You can pull up, look at Daniel Suarez wreck on Twitter. There's video of it there. You can just see how violent the hit is, and you can see his head jostling and moving around, and he's even got his hands pulled up, and like he's doing everything right. He has plenty of time to react to it, but you can just see him shaking around and how violent the hit is. And that is a direct product of this race car being too stiff and sending all of the impact, all of the vibrations straight to the driver. So I think that is definitely an issue that NASCAR needs to figure out something to reduce some of that impact going straight to the driver. Well, if Clements was disqualified and Timmy was running second, yeah, I mean, for sure, back to that deal. I appreciate that, Corey. Definitely they need to make these cars safer, and that Suarez hit was wild. So definitely check that out on Twitter. Um, yeah, Timmy Hill should win the race, but NASCAR is saying because they caught it in R&D, they're not going to take the win away, and blah blah blah. NASCAR thinks. If you're still here and you're trying to get in touch with me, my boy wanted to go to the race. I don't know what to do though. Says Danny Gray's Cards and Toys. Still trying to get those tickets. That's been going on for a while here. With timing and scoring loops, I still don't understand why NASCAR throws a caution at stage wins. It makes no sense to me at all. I agree. No need to throw cautions. They might as well just keep it going. Kelly Combs, what's going on? Good to see you on here. I'm going to Darlington. I got my tickets. What tracks have you not been to yet? Wow, probably a lot. Probably everything west of Bristol. I haven't been there for an actual race yet. I've been to most of the tracks on the East Coast. I haven't been to Watkins Glen. I haven't been to Atlanta for a race, but I have been to Atlanta. So it's hard to say, but I need to make a West Coast swing. Long story short, Midwest as well. So I definitely need to hit all those tracks. No 4-race suspension for Clements crew chief. Yeah. He's not going to get a 4-race suspension. Like I said, NASCAR is just sort of going to do what they want to do. It is what it is, I guess. Cassandra Keller said she loves Craftsman tools and Cobalt. Yeah, I buy Cobalt as well. I love your idea for points. Something has to happen. Kelly Combs said, yeah, hopefully NASCAR does amend the point system after this season. Not saying Martin Truex deserves to be in. I'm just saying it raises good questions because of the 5th place finish in points he had, and he doesn't make the playoffs, that maybe we need to look at it and amend it for next season. I think as long as you're always trying to make it better, that's a good thing. So Harvick had 23 wins at RCR in 13 years there, said Dwayne Mueller. Yeah, for sure. And then he's had, he's at 51 or something. So he's had 30 something at SHR since he got to SHR. I will feel like the old days again when the Craftsman is returning to sponsor the Truck Series. Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people are looking forward to that. I think a lot of people never ever stop calling it the Craftsman Truck Series either, or the Craftsman, the very first year, the Craftsman Super Truck Series. That's a throwback for you. Cassandra said that's a good point system. Not like he stunk it up, says Wayne Mueller. Oh yeah, Harvick did great. Harvick did great at RCR. RCR was actually pretty good back then too. Even like Clint Boyer, Jeff Burton, Robbie Gordon, all those guys got wins when they were over there. Everyone talks about Larson and Chase. What about Chase running LA? I don't know what you're talking about there, Alan Rich. Chase running LA. Are you talking about the California race where Larson flared out at the end? And I don't know. Is there anything out there about Kurt Busch maybe retiring early? Not that I've heard yet, Daniel Robertson. The last thing I heard is he still wants to come back. I think Kurt Busch wants to go out his own way, and hopefully he will be allowed to do that. Not sure what the doctors are going to say, but hopefully he gets the chance to come back and go out the way he wants to go out. I heard rumblings of a Chicagoland reboot in NASCAR. Maybe the street race is out, said old home guy. Yeah, I've heard all kinds of stuff. It seems to be a mess. If you're familiar with Chicago politics is always a mess. And this has gotten political. So I think anything is in play. But as of right now, as far as I know, the street race is going forward. And that is the only thing I can really tell you for sure is they're going to try to do the street race. If I ever hit the Glen, you better let me know what's in my backyard. I certainly will. Kelly Combs, I'll let you guys know whenever I'm going anywhere. I will be at North Wilkesboro tomorrow. If you guys are going out to North Wilkesboro, so I'll be there. Maverick says, "Where is Kyle Busch going?" I don't know. I wish I did. If I knew, I'd tell you because I could make a ton of money if I told you where he was going. If I knew, I just don't know. Mark Barnum says we can hope old home guy, Molten Rage, Cole Custer, Daytona got ruined by his teammate. And yes, I'm still ranting about this 3 comments now. I'm still ranting about it because it makes me mad that his teammate messed him over. Yeah, it happens. It happens, Molten. So I don't know what to tell you. It's been his season to have really bad luck. So it is what it is. Harvick is at 60 wins, said Cassandra Keller. That's right. So I was a little bit off with that. And so he had, 23? So they decided 10, 9, 8, 7. So that'd be, 37 wins? 37 wins at SHR, 23 wins at RCR. Kevin Harvick's a good race car driver. There's no doubt about it. And RCR equipment back then was definitely really good. A lot of years. They had some off years too. I forgot where I saw it. There was an interview that Richard Examples Dale said that the 3 belong to the Childress family. RC won't go against the deal he made with Dale no matter what. Yeah, and a lot of people don't either know that or don't remember that Richard Childress drove the 3 for a long time before Dale Earnhardt. Ricky Rudd drove the 3 for a little while. There have been other people in that 3 car before Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt obviously made it the most famous, but and it was his number, but it was never necessarily his number. Earnhardt was always more partial, in my opinion, to the 8 because that was his dad's number. That's why he chose the 8 for his son when he put his son in the car. So in my opinion, Dale Earnhardt was probably more partial to the 8 number, but he did make the 3 famous. And I think you can even see that in the Busch series, as early on in his career, Dale Earnhardt ran the 8 in the Busch series. So that's just one of those deals. You sound much healthier than last week. Your cough is gone. For the most part, my cough is gone for sure. I still have a little bit of a scratchy throat, but it's more of an annoyance. I don't feel sick or anything like that. How about KBM and JRM joining forces to run top truck teams, top Xfinity teams, and splitting costs for a charter? That's definitely something that could happen. That would take a lot of financial maneuvering, but it wouldn't be out of the question. I think you could see a situation there where KBM maybe ran the truck teams, JRM ran the Xfinity teams, and then I don't know. At some point, if they could get a charter, they would do the Cup deal with Kyle Busch, obviously driving the Cup car. Douglas Serrano, I think Bubba Corey, Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, and others will have a better season next year. Yeah, I think Bubba Wallace turned the corner there. Corey LaJoie, if he can get in decent equipment, will have a good season because he's a great driver. Chris Buescher has definitely turned a corner, and Michael McDowell's definitely turned a corner. I think you saw a lot of these guys show where their potential is at. You saw that potential come to the top today. So this year, not today, this season for sure. Michael Honeychuck, Chi-Town will be a something fest on the fans. Wrong section of town. It could be. I know nothing about how Chicago's laid out. Dale also ran the 2 car for a while in the Busch series. He also won his first championship in the 2 car for Rod Osterland. So his first championship was actually in the 2 car. So yeah, he was he had more than one number. He ran the 2 and the 15 and the 8 as well as the 3. Love him or hate him, I think Kurt Busch is an awesome race car driver. He can run better than the car should. I hope he gets back at it. He's a good character for NASCAR, says Dwayne Mueller. Yeah, he definitely gets the most out of his race cars. And the fact that he has won in every brand that he has driven in is a testament to how good he is. It's just like Yates holds on to the 28 number, said Bubber D. Wolf. Yeah, they try to make sure nobody runs that 28 out of respect for Davey Allison. My counter to that argument is, after a while, it even could get to this point now, people are not going to spark conversations about Davey Allison because there's no 28 out there. That's the one good thing I like about the 3 and the 43 still being run today. the stylized 3 is still out there. So even though people are upset that Austin Dillon's driving it, at least that 3 is out there, and that conversation is still being had about Dale Earnhardt. Same thing with the 43. Richard Petty retired a long time ago, but that 43 is still out there, and people still see it, and they can still remember those memories of Richard Petty, and it sparks conversations of that 43. So that's my counter argument. I would like to see the 28 come out of retirement and somebody run it. I would like for it to be a Ford. So I think if you get that 28 out there, it would spark at least conversations, and it would make more people remember Davey Allison in the future. So that is my counter to that argument. So hopefully, I don't know, you kind of see where I'm coming from there. Michael Honeychuck said it's an RCR number. Oh, yeah, for sure. It's definitely an RCR number. Maverick said, when did you start your YouTube channel? 2019, I think it was founded, but I didn't start doing videos until 2020. And they didn't, nobody really started watching them until about like 8 months ago. Nobody in like huge numbers, or huge numbers to me. There's people that get way more views than this, but huge numbers to me until probably like 6 or 7 months ago, maybe 8 months ago. I am happy to see Happy Harvick happy. A pissed Harvick wrecks guys, says Cassandra Keller. Well, yeah, for sure. Last year, if you remember, he tried to wreck somebody to get into the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken, trying to get into the next round, or it might have been 2 years ago. Hey, BB, would the solid underpan stiffen up the chassis and contribute to the extra stiffness of the car, contributing to the harder hits, says Kaltiki? It could, depending on how it's mounted. If it adds structural rigidity to the car, it could be part of the problem. For sure, that's definitely something they could definitely look at. Honestly, Tony needs to sit down with Briscoe and tell him to stop this nonsense. Basically, have a pep talk, like cut this out and stop taking out innocent people, please, because it's getting ridiculous. So Tony Stewart in the dirt cars ran Ricky Stenhouse, and he said as much talent as Ricky Stenhouse was, he cost him more money than anybody else. So I think after a while, Tony will have the talk with he will have the talk with him about wrecking equipment and being smarter in certain situations. Mark Barnum said, be less winners next year because the teams will have a notebook on the next gen next year. Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely, Mark Barnum. This is probably going to be the most wide open year we have in a while until they maybe switch the power plants in 2024 or something like that. JD Mayo, only Jared Irvin is driving 28 in late models. Yep, for sure. And that is a Forrest Reynolds chassis. He's right beside Forrest Reynolds. So they got a good deal going there. Forrest Reynolds, really good chassis builder. He builds really fast stuff. One of the people we work with. Also, Marcus Richmond at RNS. He builds fast stuff. Roger at PRW, another guy who builds really good stuff. A lot of good chassis builders out there for sure. So give those guys a shout out today. Wood Brothers 21 since NASCAR began. Yeah, for sure. That's definitely another number. I'm happy they're still running. What if Ryan Blaney only gets one win this year? Says Douglas Serrano. If he only gets one win this year, I hope it's the last race of the year and he wins the championship with one win. Or if he wins the championship with no wins, that would be cool too. Just because I think it would be something that would stimulate change in this current playoff system. Sorry, I didn't know that was a bad word. But wait on the news when it goes down, says Michael Honeychuck. It's not necessarily, in my opinion, Michael, just certain things get flagged, to put it lightly. Certain words they don't like me saying, and there's no rhyme or reason to them. I just know that that's one of them because it got one of my videos I made on that city buried earlier. So I try to avoid. I don't even know which word it was exactly, but I know it was a combination of some of those words. So I just try to stay away from them. You're all good, buddy. I'll take it. I got it from here. You can type and write whatever you want to. You're good to go. Dale Jr. wanted to run the 28, but they gave him the 88 instead. Yeah, he wanted to run the 28 as the Gray Ghost, but they wanted him to run the 88. But like I said, if they had let him run the 28, the conversations would be about Davey Allison. You would sort of bring Davey Allison back into the conversation more often than he gets brought into the conversation now. So there is some good to somebody running the 28. But we'll just have to see. Maybe we can get Jared Irvin up into one of the touring series pretty soon, and you'll see that 28 come back, and that'll spark some of those conversation. God loves that 3-car. Check some of the history, said Cassandra Keller. Yeah, especially at Daytona. Including Xfinity this year, when there was an Earnhardt driving it and he almost drove it, or maybe it was Talladega. Talladega this year when there was an Earnhardt driving it and he almost put it in first place when Jeffrey Earnhardt got that second place. I think it was at Talladega. I was watching the Braves game and thought I saw here that Harvick's team chief was suspended. Is this true? Yeah, it might be. I don't know. I haven't heard anything on it. I didn't get a chance to check the news today before I sat down. I just knew everything from when I woke up today. That's all the knowledge I have. Jamie McMurray drove the 28 after Davey Allison at Talladega in a helicopter crash. Said Shadow Ears. I thought it was Dale Jarrett that drove that. Jamie McMurray filled in for. He drove the 26 and the 40 and the 42. He filled in for Sterling Marlin when Sterling Marlin broke his neck. Ernie Irvin filled in for the 28 at first. Then Ernie Irvin got hurt. Then Dale Jarrett filled in. Then they kept both of them, and that's when the 88 and the 28 became the Roush or the Yates became the Yates 88 and 28. If I remember correctly. Huge Earnhardt fan, seen the 3-car debut in Daytona in 2014 with Austin. Thought it was fantastic. Bought a Dylan t-shirt. Seeing the 28 on track would be great. Yeah, so see, I think that would bring back some great memories for people, and that would get people talking about Davey again. So I think there are positives. Obviously, a lot of people are upset that they just don't necessarily like Austin Dillon. So they have an issue with him driving the 3. But I think if you put the right person in the right car, it would be a positive thing. It's just hard to tell how those things will work out. Like one legacy driver people love, like Chase Elliott and Dale Jr. They're loved and they're legacy drivers. Austin Dillon's a legacy driver, and people don't warm up to him the same way. Ty Gibbs is a legacy driver. People are not warming up to him the same way. It's just kind of funny how those things go sometimes. But I'm not telling anybody who to pull for. Pull for who you want to. Just kind of weird how it works out sometimes. Hopefully Tony talks to Chase Briscoe right now because he took out his own teammate. He's taken out more than his own teammate. Tyler Reddick would have three wins this year if it wasn't for Chase Briscoe. He's very aggressive. He's fun to watch, but he's also crazy. You gotta keep a sharp eye on that guy. I doubt Briscoe tries to wreck others. He just runs out of talent sometimes. He'll be better each race, says Mark Wachowski. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I just think he's hyper aggressive, and he tries too hard. And once he figures out what the car can do, he'll sort of settle into it and not make as many mistakes. It's just going to take a while for him to learn, and hopefully they keep him on there while he's wrecking that equipment, and hopefully he wrecks less of it for sure. Since everyone is pulling Busch 2023 out of their rump, Busch buys out Tony, and it becomes Haas Busch sponsored by Guschenheit, says old home guy. Yeah, like I said, I have no idea where he's going. I've made no bones about it. I have no clue what Kyle Busch is doing, what he's thinking, where he's going. I just hope it ends soon, to be totally honest with you. Tom Irvin says Ernie. Kenny Irwin also drove the 28 for sure. Yeah, Kenny Irwin was another guy that was part of the curse of the 28. I'm glad Austin made the playoffs, says Chris Davis. Yeah, I don't have any problem with Austin making the playoffs. Like, a lot of people took that Truex video the wrong way. I was using Truex as an example to talk about changing the playoff system for next year. Playoff system, everybody had the same rules. Everybody did the same thing. Like, I've got no problem with anybody that made the playoffs. They all had the same rules at the beginning of the season. What I have a problem with is the playoffs themselves, how it's structured. But I'm not taking anything away from Austin or let's see here. Bowman, Cindric, Suarez, Briscoe, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, Kevin Harvick, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, or Chase Elliott. They all did what they needed to do to get into the playoffs. So I'm not taking anything away from any of them. I just would like a totally different point system, or at least revise this playoff system at the very least. Will Sharman, ever sponsor JTG? I think they've been on partially on the car before, Douglas Serrano, if I'm not mistaken. I will do some research and look that up. Was Dale Jarrett the last driver to win a championship at Roush Yates? I'm pretty sure he was, for sure. And he won those in the 88, if I'm not mistaken. Red and blue. Was it the Charlotte race when McMurray won his first race, subbing for Marlin? You were there too, Baloney. Yeah, it was a miserable day, Dwayne. No doubt about it. Cold, wet, rainy, and I think it was delayed, and we had to go back the next day. So two days of sitting in the rain, if I'm not mistaken. No. It was just one day. It was one day, but it ended so late that I had to get a hotel room. I don't know. My memory's foggy, but I remember Jamie McMurray winning, and I was like, "Oh, that's crazy! We saw this guy win his first race, subbing in for somebody." I remember I was glad from that aspect of it, but the rest of the weekend was not good. I was going through a breakup with a girl, and it was a bad weekend. Robbie Gordon and Lake Speed drove the 28, and then Ernie Irvin took over the last 7 or 8 races of the 93 Cup season. All right, there you go. Austin Dillon gets too much hate. 4 Cup wins, Xfinity, and Truck Championships, but drives the 3 and is Richard's grandson. So everyone hates him for no reason, says B. McMinn, 88. And I agree with you on that, actually 100%. And that's what I was saying. It's kind of funny, like some legacy drivers are immediately loved, like Chase Elliott and Dale Earnhardt Jr., and then some legacy drivers like Ty Gibbs and Austin Dillon do not get the same love. It's just funny how that plays out. Was Jarrett the last driver to win the championship with the 88? Yes, he was. Poor old Custer, says Dwayne Mueller. Trolling of Moulton there, I think. Reddick would have 3 wins, and KFB would have no wins if not for Briscoe, says Mark Barnum. So, yeah, that's another good thing to look at there. Would Kyle Busch be in the playoffs if it wasn't for Briscoe? So maybe Kyle Busch fans or partial Briscoe fans this season as well. Don't like the kids that have not turned some wrenches and swept some floors, says Cassandra Keller. Well, unfortunately, Cassandra, in the future, that's going to be 90% of your drivers. Just keeping it real. Coming down the pipeline, that's what I'm seeing here. Is Mark Martin's kid in racing anymore? Old home guy asks. He is not. He does ride with his dad sometimes in the motorhome. He has taken a different path. How old are you, Burgerman? And who was your favorite driver growing up, says John Bonbright. I'm old. I'm old as dirt. My favorite driver growing up was it was Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt, and I was a Richard Petty fan growing up. But then we went and visited RCR one time, and we signed the registry. And the next week in the mail, I got a autographed picture from Dale Earnhardt, and that was it. The man could do no wrong from then, because it was the coolest piece of merchandise I ever had, and still to this day, the coolest piece of merchandise I have. As far as fan gear goes, and that right there was that just made me an Earnhardt fan, and yeah, so Earnhardt and Richard Petty were definitely my favorites growing up. And then when he passed on and Richard Petty retired, I pulled for Kevin Harvick because I felt like Dale Jr. would get plenty of fan support, which proved to be true. But I felt like Kevin Harvick had an equally, if not harder, job filling in the actual car for Dale Earnhardt. So I pulled for Kevin Harvick, and I still pull for Kevin Harvick. It's just kind of not the same because he's not at RCR anymore. I still pull for him. He's still like one of my favorite guys, but I don't know. It's just not the same because he's not at RCR anymore. And he drives a Ford. Not that that's a big deal to me anymore, but it's just not the same. But I do still pull for him, and hope he does well. And he definitely flourished under that pressure, but he was definitely under a microscope at RCR. There's no doubt about it. I feel good for Cole Custer, like he had a fast hot rod in Daytona, but was so good the potential to win or have a great finish or win, but taken out by teammates. Rick Feel so gutted for him. Sigh. Gutted for him. Sigh. Uh, said Moulton. Yeah, that was a tough one. Chris Davis says, sorry about that, buddy. Have you done a first 4 out prediction? B. McMinn, 88. I have not done a first 4 out. Not an official one. But I think it's safe to say that, not safe to say. I think Austin Dillon and Alex Bowman are definitely on the chopping block. Chase Briscoe, I could see him being on the chopping block. And either Cindric or Kyle Busch. And it's just because Kyle Busch has had a terrible season by his, excuse me, by his standards. It'd be a great season for some guys, but he's had a terrible season by his standards. All right, I'm gonna live. We'll be all right. Let's see. So that would be my first 4. Some combination of that. I guess I'll go. Let's just be spicy. Dylan Bowman, Kyle Busch, and Briscoe. First 4 out. No clue though. I'll have to look at actual stats. No truck racing until Kansas. Yeah, that kind of stinks. Douglas Serrano. I wish the trucks didn't get as many days off as they do. Does Elliott Stadler still have the record for most bologna burgers at South Boston Speedway? As far as I know. He still holds that record. Mark Martin doesn't race anymore, but he hangs with his dad a lot. Good guy, both of them. Says Mark Wachowski. Yeah, for sure. They just hang out now on the motor coach. One day, the Onion wrecked all RCR passing in the grass. I was so mad. LOL. Really wet day. Lots of beer. Yeah, and Harvick was having that. That was like the worst year for Harvick because that was the second year. That's when he had sort of that gray ghost looking scheme. A good looking car, but that car was just that year. That car was just, I don't know, just had bad, sort of like Cole Custer season. That year, that car just had really bad luck, and they went away from that paint scheme and never did it again. But yeah, I remember Todd Bodine tried to throw a pass in the grass, and it had been raining, and he smoked like 3 or 4 cars. He took out everybody at RCR. I remember that now that you bring it up. I was trying to remember where that was at. And you just jogged my memory. I was furious. Like, oh man, it's very few drivers on that day that I hated more than Todd Bodine that day. Like, I didn't have a problem with him after that, but I was mad, man, because I'd sat through all that mess and then he wrecked. Oh, whew, I was mad, and that was a lot of money for me back in that day because I was still young. That was a lot of money for them tickets. I was super mad at the Onion that day. A lot of ADD jokes and yeah, Kmart 36 or 37 car. I want to say something like that. But yeah, I was super hot. Earnhardt was the man. I shed a tear at the statue at Daytona, said Dwayne. Yeah, for sure. I need to go down there. I have not actually seen the statue as many times as I've been to Daytona. I haven't been to that side of it. I need to go check that out. I know times they are a changing, says Cassandra. Yeah, for sure. Talking about the young kids not turning wrenches anymore. Just the way it's played out. Alex Bowman could go to the and I'll tell you another thing. There's a lot of guys working on cars that are just as good or better sometimes than the drivers that are in them. Sad, unfortunate fact. Alex Bowman could go to the number 2 car. That would be spicy, says JD Mayo. Alex Bowman to the number 2 car. That would be wild. KB hasn't been the same since they took real practice away. Says B McMinn 88. Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to start calling you B Mac. For sure. One of his strong points is giving feedback. So when you take that practice away from him, you take away part of what makes him special. Sterling Marlin, I used to win bets against my boat racing buddies all the time. They were Earnhardt fans. I think I didn't catch the end of that. Did Earnhardt try to wreck Texas Terry at Bristol? I grew up a Gant fan, but Texas Terry was my guy through the 90s. John Bonbright, he didn't try to wreck him. He was trying to move him out of the way, but try doesn't matter because he did wreck him. But at the end of the day, I was an Earnhardt fan. I loved Terry Labonte too, just totally being honest. But and I hated to see him wreck Terry Labonte, and I was really because I love that Kellogg's car. That yellow Kellogg's car was awesome. But I hated to see that wreck. But at the end of the day, I was an Earnhardt fan, so I wasn't super mad about it either. I knew payback might be coming down the road, and I was okay if that payback ever came. But I wasn't sad that Earnhardt won, but I was sad that Terry Labonte got wrecked. Just think about coming behind the most notorious driver in NASCAR. The pressure he must have been under. Harvick doesn't get the respect he deserves. Says Dwayne Mueller. I agree with that 100%, man. Like there's just, especially from a younger generation that sort of grew up with Harvick. I guess maybe in the yellow 29, the yellow and red 29. Those first few years after Earnhardt, man, like I don't know, or if they grew up and never saw Earnhardt race and just remember Kevin Harvick, I guess they don't get the full depth of how hard that job was. Sometimes I think the younger generation doesn't get it. I don't think they even understand how important Dale Earnhardt was, other than he's just kind of a cool number to wear and somewhat of a meme. Raise hell, praise Dale, doing it for Dale, 3 for life, and just stuff like that. I don't think they totally understand the cultural impact. They don't even they wear Jordans and don't even understand the cultural impact of Jordan in that era either. So for a generation that's ironic, that's kind of ironic too. Just so y'all know, old man taking shots at the younger kids. Good job. But it is what it is. I was the same way, and that we all are when we were young. We don't understand the generation that came before us, and we don't get things. You don't understand things the way other generations understand them, or you don't perceive them the way other generations perceive them. And I think that's the deal with Kevin Harvick, because a lot of people are like, Kevin Harvick didn't do anything until he got with Rodney Childers. I hear that a lot from people under 30, and I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? He had like 7 different crew chiefs, and he won with all of them. I'm like, what in the world are you going on about? It's just, it's funny. Kevin Harvick's a hell of a race car driver, always has been. And the fact that he's still doing it in his mid-40s sort of proves my point. I think he could do it to his 50s. He's a Mark Martin type guy, I think, if he really wants to be. Prediction for the next year. Yes, I'm going 2023 predictions right now. I hope to God the whole customer breaks out. Cole Custer breaks out. Wins 3 races and makes a deep playoff run and redeems himself in the fan base's eyes. Please, Cole, please. Mark Wachowski said, no, he meant to rattle his cage. Yeah, no doubt about it. That's the classic line from that. Another classic Earnhardt line. Busch signs before the end of the season, then wins the championship, leaving Gibbs. That would be a cool storyline too. Old home guy, yeah, that would be cool if that happened. Gibbs talked to Mike Hall or Kleenex to sponsor Kyle Busch. Says Alan Rich. Got me laughing and coughing. Good job, Alan. Ticket prices are out of hand these days for a good seat at a cup race, says Mark Barnum. Yeah, for sure. Shadow Ears says I was wrong. Oh, don't worry about it, Shadow Ears. Everybody's wrong from time to time, brother. Don't even sweat that. I said, shoot, I was wrong earlier today. I was talking about Carl Long, and I said Carl Edwards about 6 times. Yeah, don't worry about it, brother. It's all good. Don't even worry about being wrong. I still hate the Onion for that. It can't. And I came from Canada. I had a ton of fun. I said Dwayne Mueller. Yeah. Man, I like Todd Bodine, but like in that moment, man, I was so furious. Like I could have climbed that fence. I'm not even, and I wasn't even drinking. I could have climbed that fence. I was so mad. Since Mars is leaving, I want Hershey's to sponsor Kyle Busch, says Douglas Serrano. Me too, Douglas. Like at least for like 4 or 5 races. How big of a troll or a meme would that be if like Reese's Cups sponsored Kyle Busch and he goes to the orange and orange, brown, and yellow instead of being the yellow and multicolored M&M's car? That would be so hilarious to me. I really, really, really hope it happens. The drivers that drove the 28 after Allison's death were Robbie Gordon. I did forget about Robbie Gordon and Lake Speed. So that's a good point. And I'm glad you brought those up because not a lot of people remember Robbie Gordon, and they definitely don't remember Lake Speed driving that 28. Then Ernie Irvin, Kenny Wallace, Dale Jarrett, and Ernie Irvin and Kenny Irwin Jr., Ricky Rudd, and Travis Voppel. Forgot about Travis Voppel, but Ricky Rudd probably gave it its best run after Ernie Irvin. Ricky Rudd drove it for quite a while, and he did great in it. Before I think he started his own team, or that was right after he folded his own team. He drove for the 28 and the 21 also at points in his career. And I was talking to somebody. I think it was Bumblebee. She was talking about Ricky Rudd doesn't get enough respect for starting his own team, that number 10 Tide car, and having good runs in that. And I agree with her there. I would like to see Boyer come back for a year or two. Sick of Sandra Keller. Me too. I don't think he ever wanted to retire. I think it's just a deal where he didn't have the sponsor money and he sort of just had to quit and took the next best thing, which is broadcasting. You know who made NASCAR famous? Cale Yarborough and the Allison brothers. Yeah, no doubt about it. They put them on the map. Well, I would argue the Petties made it famous. The Petties got it to that point. Then Yarborough and Allison took it to another level on TV. Then Dale Earnhardt took it to another level. Then Jeff Gordon took it to another level. And it sort of peaked during the Jimmy Johnson era, but I think Jimmy Johnson winning 5 in a row sort of hurt it as well. So I think the Jimmy Johnson era was the peak, and you started to see a downfall in that. Nothing against if you win 5 in a row, that's an accomplishment. But I think people got tired of it. Sort of like in F1, the Schumacher era, people got tired of it after a while. Dusty Conger would be crazy if RCR signed Kyle to drive the 8 next year just to hear the fans' reactions. Yeah, no doubt about it. That would be awesome. It would be really cool. And also it would just be funny because the Richard Childress thing, people are like, he'll never drive for Richard Childress. Well, if he drives for Kaulig, he's basically driving for Richard Childress, a very close affiliate as they're built on the same campus. If Cole is out of SHR as a fan of him, I have to be honest, it's well deserved. He's not. They've already signed him for next year. But Kyle is probably going to Kaulig. Yeah, I think that seems to be the better fit. Because I think I think they're committed to running Tyler Reddick next year in that 8 car. If you had to press me for an answer, and that's what Richard Childress himself has said. So if it comes out of Richard Childress's mouth, and Richard Childress is still fuming about the way it was handled, I have to believe that he's going to be in that 8 car next year. And to Tyler Reddick's credit, he has done everything you would want a teammate to do. I'm not in love with the way he left, but he's still being a consummate professional other than that one thing. So, like I said, I never had any hate for Tyler Reddick. I just wasn't in love with the way he handled that situation, but he's been an absolute perfect teammate other than that. The Dillons, Ty Gibbs, Austin Cindric, nor Cole Custer are true legacy drivers. They're family drivers. Mike Dillon isn't known as a race car driver. Coy Gibbs, not known either, and Papa Custer and Papa Childress, I guess. So Mike, what you don't know about Mike Dillon is Mike Dillon was the test driver for Dale Earnhardt. Mike Dillon is the guy that came up with all the tweaks to the setups for Dale Earnhardt. So that's where Mike Dillon comes from. Mike Dillon was an important part of those Dale Earnhardt race teams. Now, I can't speak on the other guys because I was an RCR fan, Darrell Adams. I mean, I get what you're saying. They're not a direct link to a driver, and you're right about that. But I don't know. Mike Dillon was pretty important to those championship teams. So I follow you on the other ones, but Mike Dillon was actually he was pretty important to those championship teams. And so was Andy Petrie would get in there and he would turn some test laps too. So that's a fun fact because Dale Earnhardt did not like the test at all. He thought it was a waste of his time. That would be funny if the Hershey's company sponsored Kyle, if he went to RCR. Yeah, so that would be a reunion with RCR. RC, bring back the 29, LOL. Well, what if you put Kyle Busch in the 29, if it happens? This is speculation, of course. Chris Davis, Daytona 1979. Yeah, no doubt about it. That's when the Allison and Cale Yarborough made it famous. Smile for the cameras, boys. He would still be the Candyman then, said Cassandra Keller. Yeah, that would be awesome. So hopefully Hershey's takes advantage of this and does at least 3 or 4, maybe 5 races with them. I think that would be a great sponsorship. It would be a great opportunity. And NRF, I think, made a video about Hershey's and their sponsorship, which is it's a really good video. So check that out. Cindric is highly involved with Penske and SHR. Highly involved. He's like the team manager. He basically runs a lot of stuff over there at Penske, for sure. And Cole Custer's dad, I don't know what he does over at SHR, but he's got to be up there pretty high. Douglas Serrano, I just don't know exactly what Austin Cindric's dad does. I just know he's a big on the IndyCar side of things, at least, because every time they're doing something IndyCar, his name is like brought up a lot. Douglas Serrano, when will Trevor Bayne be back in Xfinity 18? I think it's coming up pretty soon. I saw some chatter about that, so I think he's got a race coming up pretty soon. Possibly Bristol, if I'm guessing. If KBM goes to Chevy, would its drivers like Chandler Smith and John Hemmer Nemechek go too? Or are they Toyota drivers? That's a good question. John Hunter Nemechek is probably very lightly signed under Toyota, if I'm guessing, because he is represented by Dillon Management. So I'm thinking his Toyota deal is probably lesser. But Chandler Smith, I definitely think is a big time Toyota prospect. So I definitely see him having a multi-year contract. I think John Hunter is probably year to year on that Toyota deal, if I'm guessing. If Cole is out of SHR in 2024, it will be deserved. If he does nothing in that organization, which is a championship organization as a fan, I can't justify that for the fourth season in a row. Well, I mean, you have to look at what everybody else is doing over there too. He's had speed. He's just had bad luck this year. He hasn't, when he's finished races, he hasn't necessarily finished any worse than Chase Briscoe. A lot of people don't want to hear that, but he's had a lot of bad luck. But when he finishes races, he's finished right around where Chase Briscoe's finished. So he's just got to figure out how to get to the end of races, which is a big part of racing. I met a gentleman a few years ago that grew up down the street or road from the Allisons. I sat with him for a few hours and heard some great stories, says Cassandra Keller. That's always cool when you run into somebody with some cool stories like that. And it's always so random when it happens too. It's just really cool. Robert Slaughter says, just off the cuff, first race I ever went to was the Southeastern 500 Spring, 1971, fourth row up. It's the very top grandstand, about midway off turn 4. Seat was $8 with a grandstand. And how's that? That's awesome, Robert. Man, I wish they were still $8. That would be awesome. You can't even get into a short track race for $8 now. Man, I wish everything was the same as it costed back then to be. That would be so cool. Mark Barnum, Trogan need to be on KFB's car because he can be a Richard. I see what you're saying there. I see what you're saying, Mark. Yep. He can be difficult to deal with. I'd like Kellogg's to come back to the sport. Good sponsorship, bringing Kyle back to his Hendrick days. That'd be another one. Dusty Conjure said, "What if he got Kellogg's and Reese cups? That would be really cool. Just a combination of a lot of stuff coming together there. That would be cool. Let's see." Old home guy, didn't Mike Dillon take over the test after Neil Bonnet, after Neil got the Country Time Lemonade car? Yeah, he set up, because that was also an RCR car. So he was basically the setup guy. He would go, this is back in the day when you would test all the time. You would have a whole testing team. He led the testing team. So even though he doesn't get the spotlight, Mike Dillon was a big part of that deal. But he doesn't have the name recognition, so I see what you're saying about them not being directly linked to a line of drivers, and they're just being linked to whatever. But it's just sort of weird. I think you missed this. And what about Kit Kat sponsoring Kyle B? Yeah, that would be cool too. As long as they are, is Kit Kat Mars Milky Way, or is Kit Kat Hershey's? Kit Kat would have to be Hershey's, I think, for that to happen. I don't know who owns Kit Kat. Is it Mars Milky Way, or is it Hershey's? I'm not sure. But that would be cool. Who you got for Darlington? Trying to win that million, says Delmar Kaufman. I'm going to do the pre-race, but just off the top of my head, I know Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick are really good there, so that's definitely a good thing. Kit Kat is owned by Hershey, says Douglas Serrano. Yep, so there you go. Kit Kat would definitely fit in that mold. So yeah, and I know back in the day, Hershey's ran Payday because Payday. I learned this. Our shot guy used to work at RCR. Uh, PJ Bryant Shock Technologies. If you're in the racing game and you need some shocks, PJ Bryant is your guy for those shocks. But he used to work at RCR, and he said the reason that they ran the Payday car back in the day is that Payday was their worst selling candy bar. And he got a laugh when I said, "Well, it worked because I never tried a Payday until Payday was on that number 21 RCR car." So I was like, I bought a bunch of them back then. So whatever it was, it worked. The marketing back then, he got a kick out of that. And looks like we're about to the end of it. My voice is about to go. So I'll hang out here for a few more minutes, and then I'm going to jump off. Old home guy says, "Peace out. I'll see you later, old home guy. Thanks for hanging with us." Back in the day, Hershey's was the beloved company, and Mars were the bad guys, says Sonny V. For sure. I don't know. Let's see. It's only as far as back as I remember. It's always just been M&Ms and Snickers car. I remember Rick Wilson driving the Snickers car. So I was always a Mars Milky Way guy. Yeah. Bubba Wolf says bus. I don't know what that means. Bussing, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Moulton says, "I know what's the issue is that he needs to get this bad luck, or if this driver will be out of that ride in 2024. Ryan Preece and Riley Herbst will be in that ride. That's the issue." Yeah, I wouldn't worry about Riley Herbst so much, but Ryan Preece could push him. That's for sure. Old home guy says Rick Wilson. Yeah, he had he was notorious for that. Watched Deegan's last video. She expressed her displeasure with a guy at Millbridge. I didn't see that one, but I saw the one where she won the race. She didn't win the race, but her boyfriend won the race, and she had a fuel line break or something. She was getting sprayed with ethanol, and she was like, "It's not worth it." I pulled it, in which she's right. Don't get sprayed in the face and burned up with ethanol. Or whatever they're using, methanol. I don't know what those things run on. I think it's methanol. I saw that one, so I'll have to watch the other one. I'll have to check it out. Kyle Busch and Harvick both have 60 wins. This is Bubba D. Wolf. Oh yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. They're tied right now, I think. Or Harvick might be one win above him when he won that second race. They're either tied or Harvick's one above him. So that'll be a cool thing to watch for as long as they both race. I think Kyle Busch has more years possibly than Harvick, but we'll see what happens there. Kyle Busch says he wants to race for another 8 years at least, so he can get Brexton in there. I don't know if Harvick's going to race for another 8, but he could. It'll be interesting to watch. Watch Preece replace Custard and do something that Cole couldn't have done. Win more races than Cole. Threatens to win now. Preece being on standby. And being a better driver right now. The old Baby Ruth car, says one wise guy. I forgot about that thing, man. Jeff Gordon, number 1 Baby Ruth car for Bill Davis. And then it was taken over by Jeff Burton. And it changed numbers to the number 8 for Jeff Burton. And then Jeff Burton moved up with the Stavola brothers into the Cup Series in that gorgeous number 12 Ray Bestos car. So, yeah, I do remember that. Rick Wilson replaced Richard Petty and drove the 44. Yep, I remember that. And then he was replaced with Bobby Hamilton, and Bobby Hamilton won some races. I love this hangout. Awesome. Thanks, Cassandra Keller. I try to make it fun for everybody. Dwayne Mueller, nice chatting with you, Baloney, and everyone else too. This is for Moulton. Go Custer. There you go. I'm sorry if I'm talking about Cole Custer a lot, but that's just because I'm concerned for his future and because he is struggling. Yeah, it's been a rough season, Moulton, and we are not concerned about it. We know you're a Cole Custer fan, and anytime you need to get your Cole Custer frustrations out, we get it. We've all had drivers that have had bad seasons. We've been in your shoes. We understand where you're coming from, buddy. So don't ever worry about it. But with that, I am going to call it a night. I appreciate all you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me, and thanks for your time. Peace.